So the theme of the Druid tank, or the Guardian Druid, is the shapeshifter. So you turn into a bear, and you can also turn into a cat, or a bird, or a variety of other creatures. The main purpose, you're going to be in that bear form, and you're going to be acting like a bear. So that means you're going to be copying a lot of what the warrior feels like. So that is charging, roaring, smashing. That kind of stuff is going to be much more common in the bear than you're going to find in other tanks. So how the bear works is that the druid was originally designed to kind of copy other classes, and so it took the tanking style of the warrior from vanilla. And then since then it's changed quite a bit. They've done some adjustments, and it wasn't that fun to just be like a not as good warrior, and so they've really upped it up and made it its own thing. You're specializing a lot in bleeds and thrashing targets, and then combining a little bit of magic into your abilities. So you're able to shoot out these moonfires and these swirling vortexes that can pull enemies towards them. They have a fantastic kind of style in that mix of magic and physical brute strength. So what do they do well? Well, they're one of the best off tanks, and the reason I say that is if you set it up correctly, you can do a significant amount of damage when you're not actively tanking. And you can also then take over the tank duty when it is your turn and be a fully effective tank. I don't think any other tank has the ability to do as much damage when not tanking as the druid can. You can also use things like Frenzied Regeneration, Iron Fur, and your Berserk or Incarnate form to take on a significant amount of damage and aggression towards you while easily being healable. The druid is very easy to heal as it is capable of giving itself a lot of extra health. It's able to help the raid by spreading some of its damage out as healing. It's just fantastic at adding a little bit of healing into the scene, as well as just focusing so much threat upon itself. They have very decent amounts of movement, with the ability to do Stampeding Roar, turning into a cat and dashing. Out of raids and whatnot, you have Flight form and Travel form. So there is lots of ways to be able to get around. It can also, of course, charge or use things like teleporting to friends if you are in human form. There is a large variety of movement abilities available to the druid, and it's really easy to get around. Now, what makes the druid fun is a lot of the ability to mix and match what you want to do. So being able to turn into a cat, being able to turn into possibly a moonkin if you took the correct talents, you're able to really switch up and do that jack of all trades role. And that's what the druid has always been about, is being the jack of all trades. You can heal, you can damage, you can tank, you can do whatever you want. And you can do it all pretty well, no matter what spec you are. So you're always able to turn into a bear, you're always able to turn into a cat. With a talent, you can become a moonkin. There's a lot of healing you can do, and you can just really switch up how the current situation is going based off of what you need. You're not going to be as effective in your secondary roles unless you take that one talent, Heart of the Wild. Heart of the Wild will allow you to increase your effectiveness in one of your unnatural forms. So if you have a 45-second period where you want to be a cat, you can pop that and turn into cat form and do a significant amount of damage. So there's a lot of fun with swapping things up. There's a lot of fun with just being that hard to assess threat. You can also shapeshift out of a lot of CC, so they are very hard to lock down, and just the amount of self-healing that they can give out, they are always a threat on the battlefield. So talking a little bit about your rotation, the druid is going to be needing to build up rage, so that's taking damage and dealing damage is going to build up your rage, similar to the warrior. You're then going to use Mangle to generate some more rage, and then you're going to spend that rage on a variety of abilities like Iron Fur, Maul, or Frenzied Regeneration. You'll have Thrash and Swipe as your AoE capabilities, and Thrash just gets spammed as often as you can, even in single target. So the point of your using your rage is going to be deciding if you need survivability right now or if you need damage and threat. And so, similar to other tanks, you're going to be swapping between generating more damage and generating more survivability. Iron Fur is your main source of survivability, which increases your armor significantly. You're also going to have Frenzied Regeneration, which will have 1 or 2 charges depending on talents, and that will give you quite a bit of self-healing. You're going to want to be rotating Frenzied Regeneration for moments of big damage to help alleviate your healers, while keeping Iron Fur high against targets that are doing physical damage to make sure that you take as little as possible. Maul is going to be your rage dump. If your rage is maxed out, you're going to maul to keep it a little bit low just for efficiency's sake, but really you don't need to be mauling that much. Some cool things about the Druid is the ability to shift out of bear form to do some assistance. So that's things like shooting out regrowths, giving innervates to your healers, performing battle reses, or removing curses. There's a variety of additional abilities that can be given out from the Druid to be able to help your team. When you're not actively tanking, you can switch over to the cat. You should have your cat bars set up to be able to do some efficient cat rotation, and that will make sure that you can do maximum amount of damage possible while you are not actively receiving damage. For your cooldowns, you have Survival Instincts as your main kind of button to press. You also have your Berserk or Incarnation, which allows a lot of fun play to be able to just spam abilities and soak up a huge amount of damage. Rage of the Sleeper is a really great talent to be able to prevent a bunch of damage taken, and then Convoke the Spirits is a fantastic spell to be able to just dish out a huge amount of magical abilities. It's a lot of fun to see. Druid tanks can also use Mark of the Wild for a raid-wide buff. Okay guys, so coming into the Druid tree itself, you're going to notice when you're max level, there's not a lot that happens that you don't get to take. So how it's going to work is that in this tree there is pretty much lines for Cat, Bear, Resto, and Moonkin, and you're just going to go down the bear route, going down, and then you're going to take some, I guess I'll take that talents, either down the cat side or along the healing side, depending on your preference. If you want to throw out some more healing spells, you're going to go down the healing side. If you want to throw out some more cat claws, you're going to go down the cat side. Once you've made those decisions, you're going to come to the bottom of the tree. You're going to pick up Well-Honed Instincts. You're going to want to pick up Renewal because it's a huge self-service heal. And then it's up to you if you want to do what I did, and I went a little bit deeper off to the right. I took Ursoc's Vortex because this thing is amazing in Mythic Pluses and in Dungeons, and then I went down and got Innervate and figured I might as well take Nature's Vigil while I was down there and taking one more point, and it wasn't that investment. I don't love Heart of the Wild. I don't see myself using it very often. For a 5-minute cooldown, it's just not that powerful for dungeons and raids. I can see it being useful for PvP content, but I don't love it. So what you're going to find in this side of the tree is basically just that you're like, oh, I have to take that, I have to take that, I have to take that, I'm done. And you took all the things that you had to take, and there wasn't a lot of tough choices or interesting choices. It was just what you had to take. Going on to the Guardian side, you're going to have a lot more interesting cases, and I think this is because, again, with the Druid tree is split between 4 different roles, and there's just too much in there, and they kind of put too many, like, core to that role abilities into the tree. So, like, Thrash is there, Swipe is there, Ironfur is there. You have to take those to be a bear. And then on the Guardian side, it got a little bit more interesting, and you have some more options, and you're kind of looking at the bottom of the tree. We can see here I've spent all my points. I wasn't able to get everything at the bottom of the tree like I pretty much was on the Druid side. I decided to go down the route of doing more damage with Moonfire and getting that arcane damage out there, because I kind of like that spreading Moonfire around idea. And then I like to get Rage of the Sleeper as like a powered up bear, and I like to get Incarnation Guardian of Ursoc, which is like a buffed up version of Berserk. So when you would go Berserk, you go into Mega Bear form, and so this route allows me to be a little bit more Mega Bear and spread out some Moonfires, and that's how I liked the feel of that going on there. So that's the route I went, but you can of course go down the other side, and you can get yourself some more thrashing and maul damage, and a little bit more focused on the bear and damagey side of it, rather than the magical arcane side, and you do just as well. I don't think that there's a significant difference between the two sides, that one side is significantly better than the other. So there is a lot of fun stuff and a lot of interesting choices over on the Guardian side, and then on the Druid side, you're just gonna get like, I guess I have to take these, and then and you'll be a little bit less excited on that side, but that's all right. That's how it's gonna go. Maybe I'll do a video complaining more about this and saying what I would do differently. We'll check out interest in that in the future, but that's the talents. So there we have it. I really hope that this video helped you figure out if Druid is the tank for you. If you want to be that shape-shifting, constant threat of healing, damage, and survivability that can handle any situation thrown at them, I really think that the shape-shifting Druid is the style for you. Get around and have a good time as your fluffy self. That's the Druid.